Curiosities about bees and honey. Number 12. Weight of a bee. The average weight of an adult bee is around 0.073 grams, or 0.0026 ounces. A bee's weight is so light that it can easily be weighed on a scale precise to 0.01 grams. A bee's weight is also so light that it can fly up to 25 miles per hour, carrying up to 70% of its body weight in pollen. Number 11. Production of a bee. The production of a bee involves several complex stages. The bee begins its life cycle as an egg, which the queen bee lays in a hexagonal wax cell, known as a bee cell. Once the egg hatches, the larva develops over the course of 5 days and is fed a special diet of nectar and bee bread by nurse bees. After this period, the larva spins a cocoon and metamorphoses into a pupa. After about 15 days, the pupa emerges from the cocoon as an adult bee. The worker bees carry out various tasks such as gathering nectar, building the hive, and caring for the queen and the brood. Worker bees live an average of 6 weeks, while queen bees may live up to 5 years. Number 10. Speed of a bee. Bees are incredibly fast in the air and can reach top speeds of around 15 miles per hour. It has been estimated that a bee can fly up to 6 miles in 1 hour. They can also cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Bees use their wings to power their flight, and they are powerful enough to move them quickly through the air. However, when it comes to long-distance travel, bees tend to fly at a much lower speed. For example, a bee might travel up to 5 miles in 1 hour when traveling from a hive to a food source. Number 9. Hive temperature control. Honeybees are able to regulate the temperature of their hives to precisely the temperature necessary for their survival. They do this by using the fanning of their wings to create air currents which move hot or cold air throughout the hive. The bees will also form a tight cluster to keep warm during cold weather and will move away from the cluster to cool down during hot weather. They can also use their wings to evaporate water from the hive to help cool it down. This hive temperature control is essential to their survival since their honey will spoil if the temperature drops below 45 degrees F or increases above 95 degrees F. Number 8. Queen bee eggs production. Queen bee eggs production is a fascinating part of bee life. A queen bee is responsible for laying eggs to ensure the survival of a hive. The queen bee is the only bee in the hive that has the ability to lay fertilized eggs. She will lay up to 2,000 eggs in 1 day and can lay up to 500 million eggs in her lifetime. The queen bee has to be in perfect health in order to lay eggs, and she is the only bee in the hive that can mate and produce new queens. She is also the longest living bee in the hive, with a lifespan of up to 5 years. To keep the hive thriving, the queen bee will lay eggs in both the worker and drone cells, producing new workers and drones. The production of queen bee eggs is crucial for the survival of the hive. Number 7. Bees' grooming habits. Bees have an incredibly intricate and organized grooming system. The majority of the grooming is done by the worker bees, and involves combing and brushing the hairs of their body with their legs and mandibles. This helps keep their bodies clean and removes dirt, pollen, and parasites. They also use their mandibles and antennae to remove dust and create a waxy layer over their bodies, which helps protect them from the elements. Bees also use their mandibles to groom one another, which helps spread different types of pheromones throughout the hive, as well as helps to prevent viruses and diseases from spreading. Number 6. Hexagonal honeycombs. Honeybees are the only known species of bee to build honeycombs with hexagonal cells. The purpose of the hexagonal shape is twofold. It maximizes the efficiency of the comb by using the least amount of wax, while still providing the most usable space for honey storage. The hexagonal shape also helps bees maintain their comb structure, as the hexagons fit together snugly, making them more resistant to collapse and other structural damage. Furthermore, hexagons are seen in nature in other places, such as the honeycomb-like structure of a beehive. Number 5. Dancing communication. Bees are one of the most important species on our planet, and they use a fascinating communication method to alert their hive mates of the whereabouts of a food source. This method is known as the waggle dance, and it is so named because the bee appears to be wiggling and dancing in a figure-8 pattern. During this dance, the bee may also produce a buzzing sound or a piping noise. The direction and strength of the dance will depend on where the food is located. When the bee returns to the hive, other bees will then fly out to the same location and help bring back nectar and pollen for the hive. Number 4. Bees rob from other hives. Bees have a fascinating behavior of robbing honey from other hives. This behavior, known as bee robbing, occurs when a bee from one hive will enter another hive and steal honey or nectar. The robber bee is able to identify a vulnerable hive by the smell of the hive, and then gathers the honey by biting through the wax comb of the target hive. Once the robber bee has gathered the honey, it will then return to its own hive with the stolen goods. While bee robbing does provide sustenance for the robbing hive, it can also be detrimental for the target hive, which may not have enough resources to recover from the theft. Beekeepers can prevent the occurrence of bee robbing by removing weak colonies, relocating them to a more secure area, and reducing bee traffic between hives. Number 3. Bees' diet. Bees primarily collect nectar from flowers and plant sap to make honey. They also collect pollen from flowers to feed the bee larvae. To make honey, bees break down the nectar they collect into simple sugars, store it in their honey stomachs, and then regurgitate it back into the hive. The bees then fan the honey with their wings to help the water evaporate and create the thick, golden syrup we know and love. Occasionally, bees will also drink water and feed on tree sap, and most bee colonies have a pollen patty, a mixture of pollen, honey, oils, and water they can feed on as needed. Number 2. Smelly feet. Bees have an interesting relationship with their feet when it comes to producing honey. A byproduct of their nectar-gathering flight is the production of a waxy substance called propolis. This is collected by the bees and secreted onto their feet. As they walk around their hive, the propolis is spread out, giving the hive a strong scent. This scent is what is known as smelly feet, but it's actually protective for the bees. The propolis helps to protect the hive from pests and diseases, as well as controlling the temperature of the hive. The scent is also an indication of the health of the hive, as a strong scent correlates to a healthy hive. Number 1. World crops depend on pollination. Bees are an incredibly important species for the health of the planet and the sustainability of our global food supply. Pollination is the process of transferring the pollen from one flower to another, and bees play an essential role in this process. Pollination is essential for many of the world's crops, including fruits, vegetables, nuts, and even some grains. Around 1/3 of the world's food supply depends on bee pollination, so if bee populations decline, global agriculture will suffer. Honeybees are responsible for 80% of all insect pollination and are used by many farmers to increase the yield of their crops. In addition to pollination, honeybees also produce a delicious and nutritious treat, honey. Honeybees are the only insect species that produce food for humans, and one of the few species in the world that produce food for their own consumption. Honey has been used for centuries as a natural sweetener and in traditional health remedies. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video about curiosities about bees and honey. Be sure to check out our other videos to learn even more amazing facts about the world around us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest curiosities. See you next time.